Don't worry, I'm still here. It's your buddy, Sean, talking to you on World Reach Report number 32. And I know, for those of you who've been avidly waiting for the show, I wasn't online last week on Thursday. In fact, you might have been a little bit concerned about, well, the kind of direction of the show. I mean, where's the news stories? What's going on? Ooh, we don't like this kind of change. Well, the show is growing and things are evolving, especially now with this AI thing, I got to tell you. So last week, I was pretty heavily involved getting myself set up with an AI. I don't want to get too specific on the specifics, but I got an AI, it's a paid subscription, and I fed it some information. And I fed it the book, The World Energy Grid, which is a book about this Australian pilot who came up with this grid theory about where he thought nexus points and these gateway lineups would line up. So anyway, I fed the book to an AI and got them to extrapolate on his grid data because he was a pilot. He sort of did it all based on longitude and latitude. And he kicked out the grid. And it's pretty wild because if there's not a lot of dots, and where the dots land on these areas in BC that are like heavily related to like Bigfoot legends and stuff like this. And I'm like, whoa, that's kind of a little confirmatory. Now I don't really know what to think about that because I'm like, oh, because I didn't feed this AI any information. It's just starting to kick this stuff out. So I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting that does that. And then, I was thinking about, because the reason why I looked into this book was because apparently there was explorers that followed this world grid, and they said, well, there's nothing there right now. Let's go check out where this intersection point is. So they went there, and sure enough, there was something there. Now, one of the points, there's a bunch of points that all surround Pitt Lake in the area between like Pitt Lake and Harrison Lake. There's this huge region in there, which is where the majority of British Columbia legends that I'm familiar with come out of. And there's like 6 of these nexus points running vertically along the east bank of Pitt Lake that go right up there. And you're like, well, that sort of narrows that down. And that whole region is where there's there's a government research facility through the university that's up there. It has the largest Mercury telescope in the world. All this kind of crazy stuff. So it's like, that's really interesting stuff. So then anyway, but then I found there was this other nexus point, which is kind of out of there and away from nowhere in the middle of Chilliwack on Wood Ridge Mountain. Wood Ridge, something like that mountain. Anyway. And I thought, I wonder if there's anything there. And when I drilled down and looked at this mountaintop, it's a hang gliding launch, which I didn't even know we had a hang gliding launch, but apparently we do. And that was there. So I'm going to have to go in there and check that out. And I bet you if I was to go to that hang gliding launch, I wonder if those hang gliding guys have ever seen anything kind of weird going on. You never hear any stories from hang gliders. They're never like, there was hang gliding when all of a sudden, this UFO came up to me. It never happens. I've never heard one. Have you? I mean, does anybody know anybody who hang glides? Maybe that's a way to get into hang gliding. Maybe I should get into hang gliding. That sounds dangerous. I think I should get probably into drones first. But speaking of, very interesting stuff. And this is going to lead to more and more routes and locations, which, is yet another reason to buy a motorcycle. And on the buying the motorcycle thing, but without getting specific, I mean, the greatest bike ever made in the history of man is the Yamaha TW200. That's well understood by the leading scientists. That's like, that's just the facts. But getting away from that, let's look at what motorcycles force you to do. And they force you to focus on what's important. They make you live inside of reality very quickly. And what you take with you, all this kind of jazz. It's a very interesting mindset that arises from riding a motorcycle. And one that people who followed a lot of my work, I think would find themselves very naturally adhering to. If you're ever a person who's ever had an EDC bag or a Go bag or an AWOL bag or whatever you want to call it, if you're one of those kind of people that find an appeal in that, you should get a motorbike. I mean, the flavor, whatever, obviously the Yamaha TW200, but there's many other makes of bikes apparently. They're amazing. They're all awesome. And each one kind of has its own ability. But no matter the bike, though, it forces you to focus on creating, it alters your worldview in such a way that you focus on what is important. And it cuts away a whole lot of things that are not. And I think that that's probably one of the greater things about about motorbikes, to be honest with you. I think that that's one of the reasons why, you should get one. Like, just get one. You want to have one before you die anyway. Not immediately before you die, but, like before you expire, you want to be like, yeah, I had a bike for a bit. I tried that out, whatever. And if you did, you wouldn't want to be like, yeah, I found a Hayabusa for cheap. And so, no, you don't want to be doing that. You want to like go and get into this and have, mission drives gear. So you got to have, maybe you want to go somewhere. Like maybe I've always wanted to go to Ireland, say. And then you go there and you're like, what would I do in Ireland? Well, you could ride a motorcycle around in Ireland because you wanted to see the countryside. You don't know how to ride a motorbike. Boom, the two of them go together. Probably give you a chance to meet people. You're pretty exposed. You're hanging out at pubs. I think there's some pubs in Ireland. So you probably got a lot of places you could stay. You know what I mean? You'd have to stay because you can't drink and drive. But you get where I'm going with this. So I'm thinking that, yeah, the motorcycle is a good thing. And it's one of those things that it seems to be under attack right now. They're hitting motorcycles. You're like, what? Motorcycles that are, yeah, there's weird regulations and stuff that are coming in about motorcycles that are starting to freak me out a little bit. So I'm just saying, like, well, I could you get e-bikes and stuff like that, but, maybe now's a good time to look into having a vehicle that you could cross a mountain with. You know what I mean? Like something you could literally cross mountains with. And they're pretty affordable, actually, especially like road cruisers and stuff like that. If you're like a dude who enjoys that aesthetic of the Harley aesthetic and you identify with that, and that's something that you could see or whatever for whatever it is you're doing because you live in some place where you're going to be just covering mad miles, just ridiculous amounts of miles, then, because you're open country, land of big sky or whatever. Yeah, absolutely, man. Or even some highway dudes. I mean, I'm not judging because this is a cult, right? Make no mistake, motorcycles are a mindset. But yeah, like if you're one of those guys, you could get an older cruiser like some of these import ones for like $2-3 grand. Like it's not expensive at all. And you can, and even generally, no matter what, you could get just about anything for about $2 or $3 grand. And that's attainable. That's for like the price of a drone. You could buy yourself a motorcycle. You don't have to go crazy and buy something new off the showroom floor. You can, get your hands wet with it, or maybe you want to punch in. But the point is that I think once you understand the capability that gives you, and I think the security, funny enough, sense of security that comes with it. Seriously, go buy a motorcycle. So that's your buy a motorcycle advert for the moment. Let's get into some news for the day. Oh, did you see this stuff that's coming out of Tibet? Speaking of craziness, this is nuts. A remarkable series of red sprites captured above the Tibetan plateau has attracted worldwide attention after astrophotographer Doug Shuchang recorded one of the most striking displays of rare atmospheric phenomenon seen in recent years. The images, video, linked below. You can watch all this. Filmed above the Shannan region of Tibet during the night of May 31st and the early hours of June 1 show these crazy... They're crazy. You got to check this out. Like, they're these towering, crazy lights. And they claim here that they are sprites. Red sprites belong to a broader family of atmospheric events known as transient luminous events, like transient lunar phenomenon. So it's transient lights. Scientists use it as short-lived flashes of light that occur above thunderstorms. These can include sprites, blue jets, gigantic jets, elves, and other electrical phenomenon that were largely unknown until recent decades. Well, I don't know what that is that we're looking at there, but that sounds like not really true, and I'm not really, I'd like to know what these blue jets and elves, the elves you're talking about, what are they? I'd like to look that up. Maybe find out a little something about that. But that's, it's cool theory, bro. Cool theory. I mean, probably it's something, definitely looks electrical in nature. I don't know what's going on there. But, some wild video. Go check it out and see what you think. See what you think. Now, the Prez down there, he went and he come out with a brand new statement to try to get these guys to come out. Now, as we all know, this whole UFO disclosure phenomenon is starting to smell like a trap. Like, it's starting to smell like a big honeypot trap. Like, I'm anyone who's maintaining top secret clearance, even, these guys that are building a career out of it, and you know, the Grushes and all these cats. Like, I'm sure they're good people, you know what I mean? And I don't mean anything personal against these guys, but it's kind of like this whole thing is starting to feel a bit controlled. You know, like, it seems like everybody's got a handle on this, and everyone's got this role to play and stuff. And I mean, I like it too, I do, but I just kind of, I think that, like, the things that are causing the problems, the reason that the things that are stopping quote unquote disclosure is not legal framework. I don't think that's the problem here. But regardless, the president said that your NDA, like, so, you know, you sign that thing when you go look at secret UFO stuff, and you sign the NDA so you won't get killed or whatever. And they're like, okay, so Trump has said, yeah, those are all null and void now. Former government employees and contractors had previously felt unable to disclose details of UAP encounters. According to reports, President Trump now waived certain prior non-disclosure agreements that might have prevented individuals from cooperating with investigations into the UFO phenomenon. Now, I don't think the problem here is actually the legal framework, okay? I think that what's going on is, I think this is all theater. You know, and I'm beginning to think more and more that maybe the presidency is a lot more theater than I would have liked. But yeah, it's kind of rough to see this where you're like, okay, there's something going on here, and I don't know what the truth is, but I do know you're lying. And the moment you're lying, then I can't trust you anymore, and this is a problem. So, you know, you got to watch that stuff. And yeah, so what I do know is that there was good men willing to kill innocent Americans to keep a secret. And these men are the men in black and the National Security Agency and these guys. So there's something they're protecting, right? If you're keeping a secret like that, like aliens and alien contact and portholes and all this jazz, if you're keeping that secret, you're doing that for a reason. Now, you could claim, is this a nefarious reason, is good reason, bad reason, whether or not you agree with the reason. But the point is that there's a guy with a gun who's going to kill you to protect this secret, right? So you got to think that the guy with the gun, right, has to kind of know what's going on. I mean, maybe he just gets a list of dudes he's got to go out in silence, but it kind of doesn't look like that. It doesn't look like the men in black are assassins. It looks like these guys are fully briefed about what's going on. And whatever it is, it's terrible enough that they're willing to harass and intimidate, like, perfectly innocent people to keep it secret, and have done so for decades. So what does that mean? Well, the men in black are evil. No, I don't think so. I don't think that's what's going on at all. I think that whatever they're protecting, whatever secret they're keeping, is so terrible that it would just destroy our reality if we knew what was really going on with the world. So you got to wonder, you know, if that's what they're willing to do you think it's the NDA is what's going to hold you back? Nah, there's something else going on there. I'm not too sure what it is. I'll tell you what is going on, though. Holy crap, the world's on fire. I found the good people at NASA, you know, those guys who lied to us for years and years and years, saying that UFOs were not real, to our faces, multiple press conferences, over and over again with every single administrator they had, and they were all lying to our faces. That NASA, yeah, they came out with a world on fire map, where they're actually the fire information for resource management systems, firms distributed near real-time active fire data from the Moderate Resolution Imaging Spectroradiometer, MODIS, aboard the Aqua and Terra satellites. The Visible Infrared Imaging Radiometer Suites, VIRS. Man, the acronyms, just blah, 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 blah. Globally, these data are available in 3 hours. Satellites, but US, Canada active fire detections are available in real time. Here's a link to the website. Check it out. It shows all the fires that are burning right now in real time across North America. I do not know what is going on with the eastern United States right now, but holy crap, is there a lot of fires going on in the eastern United States right now. Like, seems kind of targeted, you know? I don't know what's going on. We recently did some changes, and Stormy, who's amazing, and I love you, Stormy, she's been working, doing stuff, making sure that we're trying to make the Discord server for this channel to be as inclusive as possible. And inclusivity means just manners, like welcome, saying welcome. That's being inclusive, right? You want to include people, right? You don't want to be that crazy dude. Now, there's a point when it's like, hey, you know, welcome to Lizard People Are Eating Us Club. And, you know, come on into Lizard People Are Eating Us. And then you're like, hey, come on in. Do you like the wallpaper? We got some cookies. And they sit down and you're like, you know, Lizard people are eating us. Yeah. You know, like there's no real way to really hit people with stuff like that. So it's hard sometimes. Not that we're saying lizard people are eating us, but you can see it from where we are. You know, really, it's not so far out. So we run the risk, ladies and gentlemen, of being labeled as crazy. So you want to, well, manners are important. That's why I'm sort of a stickler about, you know, everybody wearing nice clothes and dressing outside of time and being kind of polite, trying not to swear. I have a hard time with it, granted, but yeah, it's things are getting a bit you know, like we don't want to do anybody's work for us is where I'm going with that. And with Stormy's latest changes that she's done, she's made it so that, because I have a tendency to sound a little right wing. People have told me I sound a little right wing. One of my great flaws is that I don't have a lot of guile. I don't. I'm someone you'd want to play poker against. I'm ridiculously, you know, I'm expressive. So when people tell me things and they want to know what I think about them, I don't have to say a word and people will know what I think about it. So it's difficult. And when you're trying to express being neutral out of respect, because there's people who I don't agree with who watch the show and are fans. And I'm like, hey, that's wicked. You know what? Because maybe I'm wrong. Right? Maybe I'm wrong. You always got to remember that kind of stuff. And so sometimes that language comes across and you want to make sure that you do the proper thing. And so she's looking at that and making sure that it doesn't turn into like, because you don't want to ever make whatever we're building here. We want this to be a place of not politics. We want it to be a place of research and of communication and of good manners. You know what I mean? So that's important. And one of the byproducts of doing that is it kind of elevates the whole thing so that, you know, it's not another chat room talking about god-awful stuff, right? You know what I mean? You want to try to elevate that in real time because that's what we're trying to do here. And there's a lot of folks that, as any organization, any group grows, you know, there's there's these pulses and there's this influx of people and stuff like that. And it'll come over time as you make changes and people get discovered, you get featured on a show or something, and there'll be this huge influx. And you have to make sure that you've got your stone walls up in place where it says, yeah, there's no swearing on the Discord server. Yes, it is 19 only. No, we do not talk about guns there. And the reason why is because you have to keep, you know, this is a jazz bar. You know, we do jazz here and we drink at the bar. That's it. You know, we don't play Slayer. We don't do lounge music. You know, there's lots of places that do Slayer and lounge music. We're a jazz bar. That's sort of the approach you have to take about what it is that we're going to be doing. There's Discord servers for everything in the world, but for what we're trying to do here, I mean, despite all my craziness, I'm actually serious about this stuff. I'm really sure that whatever this is that's going on, whatever is creating these phenomenon, I'm really sure this is a science. This is not like some weird mystic voodoo. It's unknowable knowledge, you know, says every Lovecraftian dude ever. But I'm just saying, yeah, it's pretty Lovecraftian, but all the Lovecraftian stuff is just like knowledge that no one's happy to learn about. But it's still knowledge. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, don't open the back of the computer. Your face melts and you're like, oh God, I learned all these horrible things, you know, which is kind of true, you know, really in real time. But on that, let's talk about this prison planet we're on now. So flock cameras. Not a big deal in Canada, but down in the States, holy crap, this stuff's going crazy. And wait for it. What's new? Oh, a new drone that reads your license plate from 2,000 feet away. Sounds like a Black Mirror pitch. It's actually Flock Safety's new product, Alpha. Link in the description. The company's first US-built quadricopter designed to launch autonomously, stream thermal video to officers, and plug directly into the same ALPR camera network that civil liberties groups have spent years calling a mass surveillance system. Oh, those civil liberty groups. The hardware and specs are genuinely impressive. The company deploying has documented a history that demands scrutiny. So it can go, this drone that they're putting out there specifically to monitor you, you and I, the civilian watching Big Brother's drone, the Big Brother 9000 here from Flock, has a speed of up to 60 miles per hour. Well, you know, my bike goes fast. Motorbikes go faster than 60 miles per hour. The camera can read license plates from 2,000 feet, apparently. and sensors. It has optical, HD thermal, laser rangefinder, all in one little gimbal. It can redeploy under 90 seconds after a battery swap, so you can hot swap the batteries, go. And it's all built in the US. Yeah, and this feeds into the existing cloud platform that the ALPR cameras logging vehicle movements are going. So they have like these augmented drones that they're going to be putting out there too. So it's a little panopticon, don't you think? It's a little on the nose. You know, isn't it just a bit, I don't know, seems a little invasive-y, you know? And as a Canadian, you know, we're pretty crushed up here. I mean, we don't have any guns. We have no say-so. We don't have the right to defend ourselves. Like, no lie. People come into our house. We're not, by letter of the law, allowed to defend yourself. You'll face mad civil action if you, like, say some guy broke into my house with wearing a clown mask with a fire axe and he's going to kill me. And I, like, grabbed a kitchen knife and stabbed him, I will be sued into the floor, and I will be charged with assault and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, it's crazy. Canada is a messed up country. Unless, of course, you're a clown with an axe, in which case, hey! Yeah, so that's one of those kind of things you have to watch for. So maybe that's one of the reasons why they want to do, like, all the, you know, we're going to defund the police and all this stuff, so they could bring in these crazy cameras. Because you got to, you know, Hegelian dialectic, right? They got to create like this massive prison state or massive crime state. And then, you know, they jack up all the homeless people and stuff like that. And the problem is that there are tons of homeless junkies, but people are inherently good. So even though there are cases of bad stuff happening and there's these addicts that are in desperate need of help, nobody wants to hurt anybody. I mean, there are those that do, that are predators, yes, and those people are scum. But it isn't working the way that the people, I think, thought it would. Because they're coming out with these flock cameras. And now that leads us to the next story, because if their plan had worked, where they had all these homeless people, they wouldn't be having all this blowback. As anger grows towards law enforcement contacts with flock, vigilantes across the country are taking matters in their own hands by smashing, obstructing, or taking down these cameras. The nerve. Many are leaning into their creative side, paint bombing the devices. Painting American flags at the scene after damaging them. 3D printed objects help to obstruct the camera's view, leaving colorful messages like, haha, get wrecked, you surveilling fucks. That's what it says, that's a quote. Some influencers have even created fake cease and desist letters from Flock, capitalizing on the company's negative public perception. The Guardian has identified at least 33 instances of people damaging, vandalizing, and destroying Flock cameras across 23 states that appear to have an explicit message of protesting surveillance. Yeah. So I guess people are, you know, kind of destroying the cameras, which they won't be able to reach the drone though. I mean, because it can read you from 2,000. How many yards is that? 2,003 yards to 3 feet to a yard. So like, with 3 goes into 2,000. Like, what is that? Like 7, 6, 6, 5. Ish, 6.5 is 18, 19.5, so 700 yards. We'll call it 700 yards, even though that's 21, but whatever, we're 100 yards over. So yeah, if you can, so they're 700 yards away. I don't know if you're ranging, that's the range that the drone would be. It would be 700 yards from you. And it can read your license plate from that, which means it could probably get some pretty good detail, provided it was well lit. You know, you'd have to make sure you light up your license plate, maybe with some, you know, some lights. Infrared, high intensity or something that you could use to light up your license plate. But yeah, it's this is, make no mistake though, these drones are just the first gen. This is where it starts right here. This is where you're going to be taken down. From here, what do you think that Gen 2 is going to look like? What do you think Gen 6 is going to look like? Okay. And you want to see the first few people that attack these drones, they're going to get taken to court. They're going to get murdered, because that's all the legal system is now. Is they're just like this system they use to communicate to everybody else that this behavior will be punished. Because, you know, hey, Epstein much? You know, where's the punishment for those guys? So, you know, we serfs, because it's not a justice system, it's a legal system. So you gotta be kind of careful, gotta be kind of polite, gotta kind of be careful, you know, as a Canadian especially. You know, you can't say the wrong thing, get in trouble, go to jail, don't want to go to jail. So, but But things change over time. You know, they change. Like, for example, a short while ago, not long ago, people were going to Egypt, going to these countries, and they were getting souvenirs. You know, people were picking up arrowheads. They used to be Boy Scouts, used to teach people how to find arrowheads. Well, now, if you have arrowheads, that's like looting cultural artifacts, and you're like a looter. A looter! Indiana Jones, looter. That man is a looter. He's a treasure hunter, which treasure hunter sounds too bad, so they call them looters, you know. And of course, these looters are they're terrible. These looters, they're terrible, 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 because they dig up these artifacts, and then they sell them. My God, they sell them to people willing to pay money on a market. Oh, God. And that's the worst part. Do you know what happens? And this up until human trafficking was the second largest trade in the world. Illicit trade, beyond drugs. So drugs, ancient artifacts. And, you know, you can only understand what kind of nefarious things the kind of person who'd pay $200,000 for an Egyptian sarcophagus would do. What are they going to do with that sarcophagus? You know, really. That's not their sarcophagus. That's, number one, that's Egypt's sarcophagus. And it's their heritage. And what's this guy going to do? Rather than leaving it in the sand in Egypt where it belongs, or perhaps in one of these mildly politically unstable situations where gold artifacts are often taken by different governments and melted down or just destroyed outright by crazy, you know, religious movements that decide, hey, we don't like those statues, we're going to blow those off the walls. Yeah, you know, that kind of thing. So he's probably keeping it in like a vacuum-sealed case with inert gas. The nerve of that guy to have an investment like that and to preserve it. When we have museums that can't track all the stuff they've got in them, they're just lost. Like so many of these giant skeletons that went to the Smithsonian that they say they have. It's on their books. They go to the shelf where it's supposed to be. Not there. Well, you lost it? You lost it. You lost it? And this is the same people, of course, you know, they deleted all the NASA footage, right? They deleted all the records. That's their actual story, is that they deleted the moon mission records. Yeah, I'm not making that up. But yeah, so anyway, but apparently in 1999, a pair of looters, these looters, armed with a metal detector. Oh, I love the language. A pair of looters armed with a metal detector. It's metal! And a pickaxe. Jesus. Corrupt towards a Mittelberg hill near Nebra, Germany, seeking artifacts. We want artifacts. They picked up a metal signal, sounds like Slayer, and started digging with the pickaxe. And there was lightning behind them. And they uncovered a bronze disc inlaid with a gold moon and stars, which age had given a greenish patina. This story is metal as hell, actually. They were unaware of the significance of the object they were looking at. But as experts would later surmise, these experts, it was possibly the oldest astronomical depiction on Earth, found by looters. Records and tools used to observe the celestial bodies go back a long way, blah, 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 blah. Now they don't talk about it. But this is the Nebra sky disk. And these looters found it. Looters. They wouldn't have this if it wasn't for these goddamn looters and their metal detector and their pickaxe and being awesome. Are you kidding me? You know what those guys had? Those guys had motorcycles. I promise you they did. Yeah. Yeah, a pair of looters armed with a metal detector discovered, you know, they tried to vilify the living snot out of these guys. And yeah, those guys were full-on treasure hunters. And yeah, they were seeking the artifacts. They were looking for the ancient truth. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Well done, you. I mean, they'll never be immortalized. They won't even get a mention. They'll be called the looters armed with a metal detector. Because, you know, if you're going to arm yourself, a metal detector, that's the weapon. And a pickaxe. So you should have said armed with a pickaxe and a metal detector. But, you know, probably the editor went, no, armed with a metal detector and a pickaxe. That would be too violent if he'd gone the other way. And then they go to Nebra, Germany, seeking artifacts. Like they look like that, too. They got, like, the cowl, and they get there, and, you know, there's the people cowering on the side of the road. They're all like, Nebra! And they point, and it like the horse neighs, and off they go. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's exactly what, the minute you buy a metal detector, actually, that's what happens. Yeah, there's a dude who looks an awful lot like Gollum, actually, now that you mention it, from Lord of the Rings, with a lot of the same characteristics. And anyone who you've seen with a metal detector, I put it to you that they're essentially transforming into Gollum. Because these people, they're really like, you know, the precious. They really get, they're into it. Let me tell you. So, you know, God love them. I think they're great. And from a personal standpoint, it was Gollum's ring. I just wanted to say that. I mean, he knew the name of the spider. One does not simply walk into Mordor. Shut up, fool. Gollum went there like twice. Okay, they let him go. He was the guide. Okay, it was his ring. I was really happy, spoiler alert, that he gets his ring in the end. I'm really happy that you know, he got the ring, finally. Even though he, you know, there were some problems. It was an abusive relationship, but I'm just saying it was his ring. And he was a treasure hunter and a looter. But you know, hey man, it'd be pretty cool to find something like that. You know what I mean? Like, you surrender it right away, you know, the mad looter, you know, don't destroy nothing like that, you know. But you find some gold shekels in there too. They already got lots of gold shekels, what the hell? You know, and the price of gold these days, not a bad time to find a dragon's hoard, let me tell you. That's the way to go. So yeah, in your day-to-day life, I'll tell you this much. Try to think of different ways that you can kind of be awesome. That you can be like doing things, not just talking about things. And maybe give just a little bit more consideration to that motorcycle.